Oh. Well, you know what the start of that is. That is the start to the Brian Hornback experience. This is episode 183. It's been about 3 weeks. We had Tom Floyd on here, and Tom and I serve on the Tennessee Republican Party State Executive Committee. He's been in the Army, the Air Force. He's a pilot, commercial pilot now. He had flown with United. And during the whole COVID epidemic, he and some of the pilots really went through some pretty bad stuff. And so he came on and talked about that, and he's moved on now to another airline, but that litigation is still pending. And now that we're on episode 183 of the Brian Hornback Experience, I realize that I need to get to somewhere tomorrow and get this beard trimmed. If you've noticed, no hat. I have officially gone clean. Don't know if you like it. Don't know if you don't like it. I've been really trying to decide for the last, several months if I wanted to do it. Did it probably about 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Right before we went to, before the wife and I went off to a weekend, well, a little bit more than a weekend trip to South Carolina. Did it. I just can't get enough sun on it yet. I keep shaving it a little bit, about every 2 or 3 days. I've mowed twice since I've had it, and I've mowed without a hat and without sunscreen, and I just can't get enough sun on it. So I don't know if the sun is reflecting off of the white or what, but anyway, if you like it, great. If you don't, you've been through 182 episodes of the Brian Hornback Experience, and you've probably been on the brianhornback.com website for about the last almost 21 years. We'll be starting our 21st year on August the 9th of 2025. It's hard to believe that I've been producing content for that long, but I have. And you, the readers, have been coming to me over and over and over, and I can't begin to show my appreciation. Again, we're coming to you from the Old Forge Distillery podcast studio. Thanks to my friends up at Old Forge Distillery. They are located in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. They produce all the elixirs in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. They produce everything from moonshine to bourbon to rum to vodka, and you can get their spirits anywhere. For the most part, across the Southeast. I know they're in Georgia. I know they're in South Carolina. I know they're in Tennessee. I know they're in Arkansas. So any of those states, I know you can get Old Forge product. If you're someone who has an issue with alcohol, and you can't, and you have an addiction to it, then please don't, and drink responsibly. Anyway, coming to you on the 183rd. This is something I've been wanting to talk about, and it's term limits in Knox County. So, as we've all established for a very long time, I've been involved in politics for about 43 years. Started when I was 16 years old, back in 1982. And so I've been involved in politics for a very long time. Let's go all the way back to, not all the way back to 1982, but let's go all the way back to 1994. In January of 1994, some county commissioners brought forward an ordinance or a resolution asking that they place on the ballot a they place on the ballot a referendum for the voters to vote on term limits. Well, in January of 1994, a county commission tabled it. When you table it, that means it just lays there until somebody brings it back up to the table and you vote on it, right? So when you table something, whether you're on a county commission or whether you're planning commission, I mean, my friend Bentley Marlowe, he's had some stuff tabled before, and he's had to ask for him to take it up off the table, right? But in the legislature, for the most part, you can either kill a bill by either tabling it or you can send it to summer study, right, to die. Doesn't always die in summer study, but that's kind of what most people think, right? There was an honorary resolution for a gentleman in Blount County. He's now since moved over to Williamson County. Going to give them some grief for a while. But anyway, there was an honorary resolution for him that Sam Whitson from Williamson County got up and had tabled, and it never came back up. Out of the 99 members that could have voted on that honorary resolution, I think about 15 of them signed it, and they presented it to him, and he acted like it passed the whole House, and it was signed by 15 people and never passed the House. But anyway, that's kind of what happens to something when it gets tabled. So in January 94, that got tabled by the county commission, right? And so what happened was several individuals, myself included, met at Dean Hill Country Club. You wonder, what's Dean Hill Country Club? Never heard of Dean Hill Country Club. Well, for those of you that ain't from around here, Dean Hill Country Club used to be up there near where Food City on Morrell Road is. Right now, it's a lot of apartment buildings, townhomes, senior living. But anyway, there was a golf course there on Morrell Road, right there just north of Dean Hill Road. So there was a golf course there. So we all met there in 94, and we talked about how we can go about getting enough signatures to put it on the ballot to vote on term limits in Knox County. We were successful. We got it on the ballot. It passed in 94 that Knox County would have term limits. Well, we had this guy who was law director. His name was Richard Beeler. He's no longer here. He passed away by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But he opined after that was passed that term limits only applied to him, the law director. So, he was protecting the constitutionally elected office holders, right? So we go from 1994 to Brian Hornback becoming party chairman in 2005 to then 2006. Now let's remember, in 2006, I believe the primary was in May, the general was in August, and after we got through the filing deadline of like the sheriff and the mayor, all those offices, in 2006, wait. He also said, not only did he say it only applied to the law director, he said it did not apply to people in the judiciary, which would have been all the judges, would not apply to the district attorney general, would not apply to the public defender, would not apply to the general sessions clerk or the criminal court clerk, and it would not apply to the school board. Not exactly sure what the judiciary, the law director, and the school board all have in common, but that was the ruling, right? So from 94 until about 2006, we just kind of went along doing our thing, right? And just reelecting everybody, right? So I became party chairman in 2005, And then in 2006, after the qualifying deadline to get all these currently elected officials elected and their opponents, if they had opponents, on the ballot, then the Supreme Court, in its infinite wisdom, came forth with a ruling that, guess what? Term limit, because also Shelby County is a home rule charter form of government. They passed it too, okay? So the Supreme Court says, hey, guess what? Term limits apply. So we couldn't go back and tell these people that after they qualified to be on the ballot that they couldn't be on the ballot. So we had to get these folks elected. As party chairman, I got them all elected. And then sometime in the fall, it became apparent through a lawsuit and whatnot that we were going to have to replace these folks. And then in January of 2007, there was a commission meeting where they replaced county clerk, the register of deeds, several county commissioners, the sheriff. And so that all happened in 2007, right? And then there was another lawsuit that then said that those people weren't eligible, so we had to pull them off. We had to put the what we called the reserves in. We had to reappoint some people. The county commission, my friend Victoria DeFreeze was one of those. Tony Green was one of those. Anyway, there were several people that then got to be on county commission. And then we had, I guess, an election in 2008, right? And then everything was like somewhat back to normal. All right, so that's how we kind of got to, that's how we got 2 term limits. That's how we implemented them, okay? And so then Shelby County, from what I understand, has already rescinded their term limits, so they're not applied to them anymore. But Knox County still has term limits. Let's kind of talk about what's happened since like 2007, 2008, right? First, we'll talk about the property assessor. In 2000, a property assessor was elected, a guy named John Whitehead, okay? He served from 2000 to 2008. That was his 2 terms. He was out. Mike Lowe, who was trustee, ran against County Commissioner Phil Ballard. Phil Ballard won the primary, won the general, okay? So he served from 2008 to 2016, right? And then in 2016, John Whitehead, who had served from 2000 to 2008, he then became property assessor from 2016 until 2024, right? And then lo and behold, guess what happens? Phil Ballard then comes back in 2004, and now he's the property assessor for presumably, well, at least for 4 years, and if he gets reelected, he'll get another 4 years, okay? So you've had 2 guys that have swapped it around for about 12, probably going to be 16 years, something like that, right? 8, 16, 32 years, right? 8, 16, yeah, be right at 32 years for 2 guys. So then also let's talk about the register of deeds. So you had, so because of how it all happened, right? Sherry Witt ended up getting about 10 years as register of deeds. And guess what? Lo and behold, 8 years ago, back in 2018, she got elected to county clerk. And so she jumps from 10 years as register of deeds to now she's jumped over to county clerk, and she served about 8 years. And you know, there's a rumor, she's not announced it, but there's rumor that now she's going to run back for register of deeds. So when she left 8 years ago to become county clerk, because I have video that shows her saying that registrar, register of deeds, and county clerk are the same in some areas. I think she's talking about other states. Because in Tennessee, these positions are all constitutionally written into the state constitution. But anyway, I have a video from her at a Peace Lutheran Church back in 2018 explaining that the registrar and the county clerk perform the same functions, okay? So anyway, she got elected, so she went from 10 years as registered deeds to 8 years as county clerk. So, unfortunately, probably one of the better employees that she had when she became county clerk was a guy named Michael Passeur. Michael Passeur was a young guy, and he was her chief deputy. And unfortunately, he got cancer. And unfortunately, while he was in the hospital, he got a blood infection, and he ultimately passed away. And so, who she put in as her chief deputy is a guy who had worked for about 30 years in the Register of Deeds office, who had been called out of government to become a pastor at Fairview Baptist Church, I believe it is, up in Gibbs area. And I have a video of Sherry back in 2018 saying that she was mad at Fairview for having taken Richie from the Register of Deeds office. Anyway, he ended up getting elected to county commission. He served for 4 years on county commission, and then he became her chief deputy, okay, at the county clerk's office. Well, now that in 2026, she's going to be term limited, now he's going to run for county clerk. So either Sherry could then become, I guess, his chief deputy, and then, and or she could run for Register of Deeds, and then he could promote somebody else to chief deputy that would then take his place in 4 to 8 years, right? Ideally, right? Well, then we look at what happened with Sherry Witt. So Sherry Witt was, like I said, she was Register of Deeds for about 10 years. And a guy that had worked there for, I don't know, about, according to a video I've got in 2018, been there about 27 years back then, add 8 more to that, Nick McBride, he's now Register of Deeds. Okay, so now he has announced that he's going to run for trustee. The problem on that one is that the trustee is not term limited. Okay, Justin Biggs has served for about the last 4 years, well, 3 years, and he's eligible for run for re-election, but he's not necessarily one of the good old boys, and so now they're targeting him to try to take him out after 4 years and put this guy who's been in the courthouse since he was 19 years old, and he's in his 50s. Now they're going to move him to the trustee position, ideally. Let me just talk to you about Justin Biggs. Full disclosure, my day job since October of 22 has been in the trustee's office, okay? And so I work in tax relief, tax freeze, helping elderly, disabled veterans, widows of disabled veterans with the state tax relief and with the county tax freeze program. That's for folks who are 65 and over, who's on limited income. If you're a disabled veteran or the widow of a disabled veteran, there is no income requirements. Holler at me in September when we start signing people back up, October 1st for the 25 tax year. Okay, perfect. All right, so that's kind of what we got going on there. Now, the sheriff situation is a little bit different. Not much, but a little bit. You got 2 people right now that have announced that they're going to run for sheriff. You have Bernie Lyons, who's the chief deputy to current sheriff Tom Spangler. Tom Spangler has served 7 years. He'll finish his term. He'll have served 8 years as sheriff. Again, got a guy named Brent Gibson who worked at the sheriff's department for a number of years, ran training. He's running against Bernie Lyons. He's relatively new. But then you got this guy, Jimmy Jones, who'd served 10 years through Black Wednesday. And after Black Wednesday, served 10 years. He ran 4 years ago and got annihilated by Tom Spangler. Not sure that he broke 30% of the vote, but I could be corrected on that. Anyway, now he's talking about running again. So the whole point in explaining all of the, remember the book, Who Moved My Cheese? That's what this reminds me of. Who moved my cheese? So the voters in 94 said, we want term limits, because if you'll remember in 94, Newt Gingrich in his contract with America talked about term limits. And it was about term limits for like Congress, right? Which they've still not ever implemented. But that was what really brought this forward from those of us, and I was there. I was in the meeting at Dean Hill Country Club, and I was involved in helping get the signatures to get it on the ballot in '94. And that was the whole reason for term limits, okay, is that we wanted new blood because you had so many people that would serve for 30 years. Let's go all the way back to 1990. Again, I got involved in politics in 1982. In 1990, I ran against a 23-year incumbent at the age of 23 years old. Now, there was a lady in the race as well, so there was 3 of us in the Republican primary. And the gentleman that had gotten elected the same month I was born got 112 more votes than I did. And, you know, I didn't like it, but you know what? The voters spoke. And so, you know, 112 votes, he won. He ended up passing away in 1992, and his son took his place, which I supported that, okay? I supported his son take his place because I said that elections were every 4 years and that the district, 112 more people than voted for me, voted for him. And so he or his son should represent him. And he continued to serve until 2006 when Phil Ballard was elected commission. So remember, this dude that I talked about that has swapped the property assessor for, 4, 8, 12, 16, 24 years, something like that. That guy was on county commission before he became trustee. Okay, I mean before he became property assessor. Okay, so Phil Ballard was elected in 2006 as commissioner, and then in 2008 he became the property assessor, and he served there for 8 years. Okay, so he got about 10 years, and now he's got another 4 years as property assessor from 22 until 20. From 24 to 28, something like that. Anyway, all this to say, when we met about term limits, it was never about seat hopping. It was never about office jumping from one to another to another to another. It was never about moving the same person everywhere. Okay? It was about getting people the opportunity to serve, because that's what it's about. It's about public service. It's about who can serve in that role. It was never about putting someone on a lifetime payroll for 50 years. Okay? If that's what Knox County wants, if they want somebody that's going to be their elected official for 50 years, then let's just do what Shelby County did. And let's just do away with term limits. And let's let the register of deeds serve until the register of deeds dies. Let's let the county clerk serve until the county clerk dies. Let's let the property assessor serve till the property assessor dies. Let's let the trustee serve till the trustee dies. Let's let the sheriff serve until the sheriff dies. Right? So I bring you all this institutional knowledge because that's what I do. Because I've been involved for so long. I've been involved for so long that I have that institutional knowledge. Because I was at the meeting at Dean Hill Country Club. I was involved in getting the signatures to put it on the ballot. I was involved in getting it voted on the ballot. Now, in hindsight, what I've seen, both from an observer who was a grocery sales guy for 40 years, who's now been working for the trustee for the last 23, 24, 20, last 3 years. I don't know. This was not what we envisioned when we all met at Dean Hill Country Club. And so we want term limits. We did not envision the same people just flipping seats. All right. So I say that to you to give you the background, to give you the institutional knowledge. And we're going to do this again. We're going to do this several times. We're going to talk about several issues that go back many, many years. And you know what? This is the 183rd episode of the Brian Hornback Experience, brought to you in the Old Forge Distillery podcast studio. And with that, I'm going to get out of here, and I hope 184 is coming up pretty soon for you. I really do, because I really want y'all, I really want me to be producing as much content on the Brian Hornback Experience as I produce on the blog. If you're not checking out the blog, it's brianhornback.com. We have content, multiple content every day. It's free. There's no paywall. There's no subscription. If you go to the daily paper, which I call the Big Metal Shed on the Hill, because if you're coming up Alcoa Highway, approaching 40, and you look at it, it's a big metal shed on the hill, right? Compass, good folks, they're liberal. They have subscription base. But my content is the only content that is free. Also, the Knox Focus is free. You can pick up those publications in just about every convenience store. They're free. Go check them out on knoxfocus.com. We're the only two platforms in Knoxville, East Tennessee, that are free and that promote and get out conservative Republican messaging. Now, with that said, I have had some Democrats advertise on my website. That's true. It's a business. It's an LLC. And if you want to buy an ad on brianhornback.com, we will do it. Unless it's something that violates FCC, we will do it. So we do take Democrat ads. We do take Republican ads. And that's part of capitalism. So anyway, I hope you have all enjoyed this 183rd episode of the Brian Hornback Experience. Tune in real soon, and hopefully I'll get some more content up for you in the next few days. All right? Appreciate you. Thanks for hanging in with me. No paywall, no subscription. It's all you, and it's all me. It's all me providing to you. Y'all have a great night.